Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Shin-kicking Mondays. Sorry for the delay. I was kind of playing around with the backdrop with some advice from my buddy, Dave Connery of the Fresh Rag Show. I'm going to spice it up a little bit. I'm going to try to put some different pieces of artwork or decor in the background just to see how it goes. This actually piece of art was painted by my sister, who's a remarkable artist. And it's kind of like a family tree. I don't think there's a name for it, but basically, I wanted to make sure that I showcased beautiful art in the series, not only because it's important for me to share the beautiful artistry and creativity people surround me with, but also I feel like because this is a coaching series, it helps us to understand how our environment helps us to stimulate the creativity to do the kind of work that we do. And for me, as you know, I do coaching and speaking and content creation. And if I'm not inspired or feeling creative, then we need to find a way to trigger and stimulate that creativity. But anyway, I just moved into my new place. I don't have a lot of stuff to put the painting up, but I did prop it up where you could see it. This isn't going to be the permanent placement for the painting, but I wanted you to at least get a feel for what I'm going to start doing here on the show. And again, showcasing beautiful and artistic creativity here. So if you are an artist and you are interested, this is actually kind of smart on my part. If you're interested in getting your artwork featured here on Shin Kicking Mondays or even the Shut Up Show, send me a message. Let me know if there's something you want me to feature. If I fall in love with it, we'll definitely feature it here on the show. All right. So with that, that's my quick rambling about why it took so long to get us started today. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the conversation today. But before we do that, I must always give a huge shout out and a thank you to our amazing sponsor, which is Selz, and that's selz.com. Selz, you have been an amazing partner for, I think we're going on a year now at the end of the summer, early fall, and the support that you've shown us and the Shut Up Show community and the Shin Kicking community and the Brave Bear Revolution has been absolutely phenomenal. As all of you community know, Selz has played a big part in helping us to have a way to facilitate selling our first product online, as well as devising our first ebook that we shipped out to all of you. And then actually the next step for me, and I'm super excited about, is this week I'm going to be launching my very first Kindle book, which is called The Year of the Brave Bear. And again, Selz is going to help facilitate part of that process as well, in addition to Amazon. So I couldn't be more excited to have an amazing partner like Selz, who has backed us up, who has supported us, and who has done some absolutely amazing things. Total awesome updates to help support you if you're a creative entrepreneur, if you're a content creator, if you are an online business, even if you are a brick and mortar business and you want to have additional help to sell your stuff online and you've never done that before, Selz is a great place for that because they have the ability to help you do that. They have the ability to help you to create an e-commerce site and an online store, even if you don't have a website. But if you do have a website, it embeds this widget right within your store. So, I'm sorry, right within your website. So it's absolutely amazing. You can create a store within seconds. If you want to work a little bit more on that, it actually takes a little bit longer, say about 10 to 15 minutes to be precise. But even with that, it doesn't take very long to have a store. So anyway, we'll get that all out of the way. Thank you so much again, Selz, for supporting us. You guys are sponsoring another episode, which today we're going to talk about. I don't know why it took so long to talk about this, but we're going to talk about who you show up to be every single day. Now, if you joined us last week for Shin Kicking Mondays, we talked about showing up at all, how crucial it is to do the hard and good work, no matter how difficult it is, to have the motivation and the inspiration to get up and to keep doing it, right? We talked about who's even watching, who's even listening, who even cares. Is this even going to make a difference at all? So we covered that last week, but this week I think this is actually maybe even a little bit more important because now we're going to talk about, now that you're showing up, who are you showing up to be? who are you? Are you somebody who is mimicking somebody out there because you're very new and you don't really have a brand quite yet? So you're just doing what you think seems like a best practice or what seems to be working out there. Okay, perhaps that is the case. No judgment, but you've got to be very careful because as your brand develops, people start to identify with the perception that you put off to them. And if that's not the perception you want to put off, then you definitely have to redefine who are you? And when you show up today, how do you want to convey that message to other people? Now, let's say you've been in business for a while, or you've been an online creator for a while, and you do have a brand, whether it's established or not. But the reality is, we do change over time. So if you have this brand and it's not who you want to be, it's not how you want to be, and it's not what you like or enjoy doing anymore, right? Because we all change over time. Then the question is, why are you continuing to convey that message that you might not want to convey anymore? So for an existing brand, the problem then becomes, are you still conveying the perception that you want to convey anymore, or has that changed? And if that's changed, why are you still, repeating those old tapes? Why are you still portraying that brand that you want to be if that's not really who you want to be anymore? So I think the key question here that I really want us to dive into is, who do you want to be? And this isn't a trick question. For a long time ago, people used to ask me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And I'd always say, I want to be a motivational speaker, kind of like Tony Robbins, right? Because that was the only motivational speaker I knew at the time who I absolutely loved the way he worked with the crowd. But over time, and this is no disrespect to Tony, I still think he's amazing, but over time I realized as long as I keep trying to chase being like a midget-sized Asian version of Tony Robbins, I'm always going to keep pumping up the Tony Robbins brand because it's just, Bernie will be an extension of Tony if she becomes like him one day. And I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to create my own brand. I wanted to have my own brand definition. And so over time, and it didn't happen right away, over time it turned into, who do I want to be now? How do I want people to see me? What's important to me? And if I was to put this message out there, am I okay with the way they're receiving it? Am I okay with the way people are interpreting how I am and who I am? And if I'm not okay with that, then I need to change it, because obviously the perception and the reality is disjointed, and that's never good for any brand that wants to be successful. So we could be talking about brand here for business, but we could also be talking about your personal brand in terms of searching for a new relationship and wanting to have a significant other, right? You guys have all been through this before, man or woman. We all have been through this before. We put on this face, we act all perfect, right? We package it all up to attract the other person, but once we're in that relationship, or as my mom calls it, once you trap them, then you let go, you let loose, and you become who you really are, or more of who you really are. And then the fights start to kick in, and the differences start to surface, and the relationship isn't what you quite thought it was because you weren't really being your true self. And it's hard to say that it's that easy for us to just be ourselves from the beginning. Of course, we have a certain level of etiquette or mannerism that we have to show from early on, but I think it's important that at the core of it all, we are who we say we are, we do what we say we're going to do, and we act the way we want people to perceive us. Otherwise, there's complete disjointedness, like I said, and the brand is bullshit. Pardon my French. You don't want to be a BS brand, do you? So anyway, I knew that I might forget what I was going to say, so I put a few notes down on my phone here. And there are a few things that I want to share with you as actionable advice to help you work through this, because this is something that I'm even dealing with day in and day out as my brand continues to grow as well. And it's never going to change, you guys, no matter how far you've come. I've been at this 6 going on 7 years. Every year I think I know my brand. The next year it changes, or like slightly changes, or it iterates, and it gets better, it improves, right? Or I shifted a little bit. That's just the name of the game, and that's the way it works. And actually, you should be growing, you should be developing, and you should be changing. Okay, so here are some things that I would ask you to ask yourself if you are considering redefining your brand, or maybe trying to dig deeper to understand who you want to be when you show up. These are some questions that I often ask myself and ask my clients to ask themselves to gain more clarity about that. And these are hard questions. Okay, they sound simple, but they're hard to respond to. So here are a few. The first question I always ask people to ask is, why did you get into this work to begin with? Right? So for me, we'll use me as an example just because it makes sense in the context of this question. When I quit corporate sales in 2008, October specifically of 2008, I remember thinking to myself, I can't wait to get out of here because this leadership team is absolutely awful to me. I don't like the way they treat me. I don't like the way they treat my peers and my coworkers and my counterparts. I don't like that we're being treated like we have no idea what we're doing, that we're kids being micromanaged, when years prior to this, everything was just fine. We all loved what we did. We all got along really well. The company seemed to trust us. And so when I quit my job, it took about a month for me to finally decide that I was going to take that pre-crafted resignation letter and finally submit it the day that I left. So the day that I made the decision, I remember thinking to myself, this is such bullshit. I'm better than this. And the moment you ask me to compromise my integrity, that's the moment I walk. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but I am going to figure it out, and I'm walking because I don't deserve to be treated this way. And it was this gut-wrenching feeling, not a fear that I was leaving, but the gut-wrenching feeling was the fear that I was going to stay and continue to compromise my integrity every single day, letting this job suck the life out of me until someday years have gone by and I've dedicated all this time and energy to this company and never leave. Or I'm afraid in this instant, I'm not sure what's going to happen after I quit today, but you know what? I'll be so relieved when I'm gone because I don't deserve this kind of treatment. That's why I left. And when I started the work as a coach on my pursuit to becoming a speaker, the whole point was I want to do this work because I want to help people who feel stuck, who feel like the energy has been sucked out of them, who feel like they're so much better than this, they're so much smarter than this, they could do so much more in life than just this for people who don't respect them. And I wanted to be that bridge. I wanted to be on the other side saying, hey guys, come over here. You'll be all right, and let me show you how I got here. And let's travel this path together, and let's get to the next milestone together, and so on and so on. That's what I originally wanted when I started. And over time, like I said, 6, 7 years now I've been at this, over time things have changed, but not completely. I still get that same mindset, right? That guy or that gal who's like, oh my gosh, I love how brave you were. You left your job. You had the courage to stand up for yourself, to speak up for yourself, to do your thing. Good for you, Bernie. But now I've got people who are still in jobs who are looking to get promoted so that they can go be that leader that they always wanted to be. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome. Then I got those people who said, oh, I know for sure I'm not going to stay at this job for long, but I need help navigating how do I start a business? How do I, do the social media stuff on the side? I don't have experience doing that. How do I take my idea and actually implement it? So now we've got people who want even more tactical information, which I didn't have experience at the time when I first took the leap because I was still new to it myself. But 6, 7 years later, I now have the tools. I now have the strategies. So now I do have that experience to help people to go and do it for themselves. So over time things have changed, but it hasn't changed completely. It wasn't a facelift or a makeover. It was basically continuing to improve, continuing to get better. And from my own firsthand experiences, I'm able to help other people experience, closing the gaps much quicker, I guess you could say, versus them trying on their own, kind of the way I did at the beginning, making a lot of mistakes, wasting a lot of time and money. Me as their coach helps them to close the gaps much quicker. I mean, that's really it. I don't think there's anything wrong with setbacks or pitfalls or failing even, but failure doesn't exist until you completely give up and never get back up and try again. So anyway, that's just a quick example of why I started this. And I hope for all of you that even if the answer doesn't seem clear to you right now, that you at least ask yourself the question, because I think it's important to at least just ask the question at all. And I think the answer may change over time, and the answer will help you to gain greater clarity about all of the other things that you might not be aware of because you didn't ask yourself these hard questions. Now my phone dropped, so I can't read the rest, but I believe the next question I asked was, who were you trying to help? Which I obviously already showed that example in me leaving corporate and talking about the other guys who felt stuck. So those are the people who I wanted to help. Nowadays, I help entrepreneurs and small business owners and corporate employees who are sick and tired of their jobs. I help all of those people to do the same thing, which is to gain the confidence to speak up, stand out, make a difference in the world, but in the process not compromise their integrity on their way up. So that has become, kind of the new statement that I have in terms of how I want to help other people. And I would say that the final question for you to ask yourself as you dive deep and you continue to gain clarity about who you want to be when you show up. The third thing I would say is it's important for you to understand what are the benefits, or what is the outcome that you want your target audience to receive by the end of it. I mean, is this, you want to help people to, and this is not me anymore, but at one point I felt pressure to do it because I was emulating other people because I didn't quite know my brand at the time. But at the time I used to talk about how I wanted to help, entrepreneurs and leaders to make, 6-7 digits of salary or revenue if they're a business. And now that's not quite as important to me anymore. That is an activity, that is that's a task, if you want to call it, because it's a goal that you're trying to achieve that you can cross off your list to say that here's how you can measure whether or not I achieved said goal, right? But for me, the greater mission I have in helping people is the outcome I want them to have, or the benefit I want them to receive from working with me, is I want them to feel as if they have found the meaning in their life, whether it's for personal reasons or it's for professional reasons. I want them to feel as if, I wake up every day and I'm excited to do the work I do, and it's hard, but I show up because it matters. I help these people over here not because I expect anything in return, not because there's an ulterior motive, but because it's just the damn right thing, good and right thing to do. And so asking yourself that question, what do I want them to achieve by the time they're done working with me? What would the benefit be? What would be the awesome outcome? How do I want to make them feel at the end of the day? That's the last very important question to ask yourself as you're redefining, who am I when I show up? How do I want to convey my message to others so that they can look at my brand and go, wow, he or she is awesome. He or she can help. And I feel loyal to to him or her, and I trust them enough to go back to them, to seek them out for additional services or products or a resource anytime I'm feeling stuck, right? If that's the goal that you're trying to achieve with them, or the mission rather. So for me, over time, it's changed quite a bit. The words you'll hear come out of my mouth quite a bit is helping people to speak up and stand out in the world, because it's so important to me that at the end of the day you stop suppressing who you are and you start being more of who you really want to be, and say everything that you truly want to say, even if you feel that you're risking being rejected or failing or being told you're wrong or not being liked, right? Being unpopular. Doesn't matter at the end of the day if you can walk away and be who you really are and say what you truly feel, and still garner respect for yourself, as well as the respect you'll receive from other people for having the bravery to stand up that way. That to me is way more important than me telling you that I'll help you to reach 6 or 7 figures in your business, which I have done that with clients before, but I'm not leading with that as the mission I want to accomplish. So to close up here, who do you want to be? Who do you want people to see you as when you show up? What's the message that you want to convey to people about who you are? And I advise you, I encourage you, because it took me some years to get here. It's not chasing best practices and mimicking other people that already exist. Nobody wants another edition of somebody that already exists. You're here for a reason. You have a story. You have an important message to tell. Why not tell it the way that only you can tell it? Why not share it? Because it needs to be shared to people who need to hear your story. And the only way you can do that is by being uniquely you and authentically you as much as you can be. Vulnerability is a tough thing. Some people find it easier to be vulnerable than others, but vulnerability is not a strategy, as I was just talking to somebody this week about. Vulnerability is something that you just need to practice doing because it's the right thing to do. It's the best way to connect to your audience and your community members and your tribe, to reach out to them and let them know they're not alone, to let them know that they can relate to you, to let them know that you're not done being scared, to let them know that you have the bravery to keep getting back up and moving forward in spite of all that fear and doubt and failure and setbacks. And to me, who you show up to be today, I believe, is way more important than any other messaging that you'll craft anywhere on your website or in your elevator pitch to people. Knowing who you are and what you stand for and why you're here today is the most important thing you can do for yourself as a personal or even a professional brand. So with that, we'll close there. You guys, again, the book is coming out this week. I'm so excited. I just got a look at the third version of the cover illustration. It looks awesome. So we're almost there. You know, we're about 95, maybe more % of the way. I'll keep you guys posted on when everything launches in the Kindle store. Again, to go find the book before it launches and you can pre-order a copy, go to bravebearmedia.com. And again, a huge, huge, huge shout out to our amazing sponsor, Selz. That's SELZ.com. Please go check out their website. They're absolutely awesome. They write amazing blogs to keep you abreast of everything that's going on, not only in e-commerce, but just in general, what's going on in the marketing world and whatnot. And in addition to that, they are absolutely amazing. Like I said, you don't need to have a website to use their services. And it's free to sign up. They only get paid when you get paid. So how awesome is that? So again, thank you, Selz. That's SELZ.com. You guys are awesome. And any other questions, comments, anything else you need, again, you can find the rest of these episodes over at theshutupshow.com/podcast. Otherwise, check us out here every Monday at 12 noon Central Time live at bernieshunk.com/live. Thank you, everybody, for showing up again. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you next week.